Okay, Carien.
Hello.
How's it? Different one, this one. So maybe just to set the scene for people who's watching or listening. So we did 4 episodes. And this one is going to be way different because what I want to try and do is do 4 episodes and then review or defrag or I don't know what the debrief, whatever the word is. So it's just me and you. And then we've also got Liz. Hello,
Hi.
Liz, our producer, because she's also been listening in, and I think what we've been doing the last few months is we've just been listening. We've been asking some questions and listening. And I want to try and process these things. And I want you to help me process it. And I think the one thing you've taught me is there doesn't necessarily have to be a result. Sometimes just observing things is good enough. Becoming aware of certain things is a lot of the breakthrough. I asked you earlier, assemblage. People can Google if they want to. We could probably put a link in there.
They probably have to Google that.
I have to Google it. So just as a reminder, I studied fine arts originally, so I try and process stuff in that context. So assemblage is like a collage. A collage is a picture made up of images. But the assemblage I like more because it's more in the sculpture world. So if I had to take your chair and put it like skew on this table and put a drill on it on the side, it becomes a new thing because all the individual images loses their form and function and creates a new form and function. So I've got some images that came up when I think about these conversations that I want us to try and process.
So we're looking at 4 episodes, taking something from all of it and putting it together in a new sculpture.
Yes, I think so. I hope so.
Experimental.
It's an experiment. Okay, so the first image that came up in my mind, and it's funny because the feminine and the masculine, sometimes you can speak to it, means something, but I had this image of a woman, and she's standing on a floor of like a digital fabric. It's almost like little squares, but you could going into the infinite. And she's trying to get her hands into it and trying to pull up. And the only good explanation I can have with it is she's trying to lift the standard. Okay. And it's difficult. It's really, there's a lot of tension. There's something holding that fabric on the floor, or it's either a vacuum at the below it or something, but she's definitely straining to pull this up. So that's definitely one of the images I got when I think about these conversations. There's that tension and trying to pull up a standard. That's the one image. The second image I got was of Atlas. So I fell in love with Atlas the first time I saw it because my father told me the story of Atlas when I was really small and we visited the Union buildings. And I don't know if people know this, but the 2 big points of the Union buildings, there's Atlas standing at the top. I don't know what it means for our country, but they are there. They've been there ever since. And Atlas, I even got the tattoo, by the way. And the reason I got the tattoo back then is because of that book.
Atlas Shrugged from Ayn Rand.
At that stage of my life, I was very into that type of stuff. But what I do get when I hear these conversations is the other side of it, where people are trying to hold up something, some heaviness, some standard or some expectation. I don't know what exactly that is. So that's the second image. So the third image I got was that of Ricky Gervais's, and I think he developed it when they were shooting the Office, the original The Office, which is very funny. But they've got the pyramid. The bottom is the losers, middle the clueless, and the top the sociopaths. And so let's hold on to that. And then the last one I've got is when I was in the art business, and I still wish if somebody picks this up, I'm looking for that sculpture from Gerard de Leeuw. I think Maria Ramos bought it at an auction somewhere. But it's called The Lightning Witch by Gerard de Leeuw. But it's the Bushmen used to, when they did their rock drawings, they would imagine characters from nature. So one of them is they imagined lightning was a woman, feminine image standing, hitting this lightning rod into the earth. And as far as I understood it, it was some form of intention. Like there's electricity or some form of something that needs to go down into this fabric of reality or world or whatever the case might be. So anyway, so that's might be very abstract. But those are the images I got. So I don't know if you've got anywhere we want to start on that before if you've got any questions on that.
I think what's quite interesting is the strong feminine theme in some of your images. And I mean, the most obvious association with the feminine is that it births something new, right? It brings something that maybe was cultivated for a long time and then starts. And it's almost like a lot of what we spoke about in the last 4 episodes was about that, about like when do you give birth to this new thing that's happening? How do you include it? What is the right time? And I find let's start with your first image, very interesting. Like there's this feminine pull to bring something new, but there's quite a lot of resistance in your image.
You could see her like almost tired and like overstrained from this effort of trying to pull up this fabric. Yeah.
So in my mind, it's interesting because I think part of what we discussed in the last 4 episodes was this kind of like change management idea. What do you do with this? How do you get people on board? How do you time if it's the right time to do something new? So there is resistance, but there's something new that's going to happen. But then at the same time, you talk about the contrast of that with the Atlas image and this burden. And I think the other thing that really stood out for me in the last 4 episodes is the role of leadership. And how almost if somebody is going to help the movement from this pool forward, we don't want that to become such a heavy burden, something that just one person carries. Like, how do we almost get a synthesis between those 2 images, I think is where my mind is going. Between the pull to change, the new things, but not just making change the sole responsibility of a leader, and still acknowledging that it kind of is the sole responsibility of the leader.
Yeah, the dialectic, like you say.
Yes.
Because both can be true.
So what do you think? If you've taken many companies through some change, incorporating new things, incorporating new systems, how do you think that synthesis happened?
I think, to go back to those images, there are certain people, and some of them we've interviewed, and some we still need to interview, who takes it as their responsibility, and I think the word is responsibility, to be that person, to offer up their energy, to either try and lift the standard, or at the same time uphold some form of expectation. And there's a cost to it. And that brings me to this Gervais principle. Yeah?
Okay, the cost being?
Well, the cost is there. You've only got so much energy. And most of these individuals do have, because they're not 20-year-olds, they've got husbands, wives, children, and so on. And on that side of the coin, there's loss. There's only so much you can give. And depending on where these people find themselves in these organizations and in what phases they are in these organizations, being a change with systems or whatever the case might be, there are some of these people who are willing to do that. Now, I don't know, and that's why I want to take it to that funny triangle, is where are they? Are they, because the triangle means at the bottom are the losers. Now, it's losers in inverted commas, because it's defined as the people who've lost their negotiation with the economy.
Okay.
And I think it's very relevant to our local space because there's not a lot of jobs. People are willing to settle in this negotiation for less, so that there's also some form of a security, a monthly income, or whatever the case might be, and that's got an effect. The middle is those typical middle to senior management people it's these people who are willing to literally sacrifice their being to make this organization a success. And if you see the sacrifices people take or give, it's incredible. You meet with people, I meet with customers who are all burnt out completely in this attempt to sacrifice to make this almost this bottom part of the pyramid working, and then the sociopaths at the top. Not all of them are sociopaths, but it's the principle of these people are willing to sit at the top and observe this bottom part of the pyramid happening, and to be okay with that, to be okay with dealing with people who's really depressed, burnt out, whatever the case might be. Now, I know they've got programs to try and help these people and fix them, but that's what I saw. That's the image. I don't know if it makes sense.
Yes, sorry, I'm laughing at you saying we're going to fix people. So here's a question. Let's play with this picture, this little triangle. I think I have two questions that came to mind with the triangle, okay? The first one is, if each of these levels sacrifice something, okay, how do we think they would use AI and tech to kind of withstand the sacrifice? Okay, so that's my one question.
Yeah.
My other question is, what is the impact or what is the exact thing that every level loses or sacrifices, right? So you can say the bottom level sacrifices most probably economic gain, right? Middle level, maybe two things, maybe a sense of identity, because my identity becomes what I can do at my company.
Yeah.
And maybe in some cases, family or leisure time or having a life outside of it. And I'll hear from you what you think the top level sacrifices. But then how do I use tech to kind of like resist that, or to think that I'm going to not I think people sometimes use tech or AI thinking it will solve the thing that they're losing. Okay, so let's think about the bottom level. Maybe putting something through ChatGPT or Claude is going to make me sound so much smarter, and it's going to look like I can be more competent, and that'll make me like get a promotion or do something better. Or maybe in the middle block, I use these things to save time, so that I can actually get to my son's rugby match or something, because I didn't have to write the policy from scratch. And almost like those kind of strategies that people put in place instead of realizing. And I wonder about the leadership angle then, how leadership uses or applies systems to prevent the loss. Instead of finding some kind of synthesis between all of these things, we identify the loss and we try to use tech as an answer.
Look, I've always had this image of, call it the bottom part of the triangle, or what we would in our world would call the users. Okay. So the company would go and buy technology and give them access to this world. So they log in with their username and password. And those people need to then dance according to whatever's been dictated, designed into the back end of that system. In my mind, that becomes, those people and those systems become that fabric on the floor.
Okay, that the woman is pulling up.
Yes.
Okay.
That becomes the standard. I think Trish mentioned it about that, if you that's the definition of good.
Okay.
Now, the second level are then expected by the sociopaths to get as little of the people as they can to execute and keep this thing stable, this fabric stable, and to keep it making sense. And there's a hell of a lot of effort these people need to go into to actually get that right. And then the top people, they've got then obviously try and have the vision to foresee what needs to happen. They then pass it down to these middle people who sacrifice all their time and effort and identity. And I think that's important. I want to come back to that because the sociopaths recognize the middle people's identity based on their ability and how much effort they've gone into to try and live the standard. And that middle people, those are always the people that I worry about the most because they get stuck there. They came out of that bottom layer because the top people saw them as willing to offer up more of their time and energy to maintain or grow this bottom thing. And it seems to me like the loss of identity there is quite serious. So when you try and implement systems for these people to change, you're actually asking them to change a part of their identity. Which that's, you never hear change management people talk about that because that's really what's actually happening. Is you're asking this person, you've now for the last 10 years worked from 7 till 7, you don't never see your kids, whatever, to pull up the standard, and all of a sudden I'm going to give you something completely different to do that with. You don't know how to do it. And I think there's a lot of anxiety that comes with that. I think so. Does that answer question number 1?
Yeah, I think...
You will have to remind me about question number 2.